Analytics and AI Association of the Philippines has officially approved last July 22 its Code of Ethics for AI professionals. It's a landmark initiative aiming to guide the ethical development and deployment of artificial intelligence in the Philippines. How then can we strike a balanced path between robust governance and innovation agility? With us now on Thought Leaders, Benito Teehankee, Chairman of the Responsible AI Council, also full professor at De La Salle University, and Michelle Alarcon, President of AAP and founder and president of the consulting firm Z-Lift Solutions, Inc. Good to have you both, Ben and Michelle. Thank you so much for being
Cathy.
here.
Thanks
Pleasure
for
to be
having us.
here.
Yeah.
All right, so how did that collaboration come along?
Would you like to start or shall I?
I will start.
Please.
It was a long path, and also knowing Doc Ben was only through the AAP. I have not met of the famous Doc Ben before then, but we started in 2017, getting together a group of private sector practitioners in the analytics space before generative AI, right? And we were all concerned about where to get the talent that we need for our respective firms and teams, right? So we thought that we do it ourselves, I guess, to put it bluntly, because back in 2017, government agencies, educational institutions didn't have a plan to supply this kind of talent or to do this kind of upskilling. So we thought, us coming from the private sector and already innovating with these technologies, data science, big data, analytics, data mining, we sought out to actually look for visionaries in the educational institutions. So we kind of started looking at private schools and universities because they could maybe innovate faster, right? So we did find a willing, I don't want to say guinea pig, but a very innovative school. So that was the University of Asia in the Pacific, actually, that started the very first Masters in Applied Business Analytics program. And the program director then was one of the co-founders, in fact, of the AEP. So Doc Brenda Gizmorio, if you have met her. So that was a collaboration between private sector and academic sector working on a curriculum that's specific to analytics. And 8 years, I think 9 years after, they are still running this program and producing data scientists, right? So we felt that this was something that we can replicate. And we needed help to scale this kind of effort because we're a nonprofit organization and we're not really funded by anyone else except our members. So we thought, maybe it is time to partner with government agencies to help us scale this nationwide. And fortunately for us, the Department of Science and Technology, DOST, in 2019 had the same plans to do a mass upskilling on data. So 2019, we launched Project Sparta together with the DOST and the Course Bank. And then now it is being cared for by the Development Academy of the Philippines, DAP. So the intention in 2019 was to produce 30,000 data professionals in the Philippines, and it was open to the public. It was free.
That was when I first heard of AAP.
Then, okay, that's what caught your attention, and I think that's also around the time that
And what
you
was
joined
your
us,
interest
right?
then? Because this was all pre-generative AI.
Yes, just
Because
analytics. Back
everything
then,
else,
data
all the
science.
problems, all the risks, the challenges came up when
Yes.
AGI
Well,
came.
I'm a statistician by background. We have a similar background.
Yes.
So, when big data came around, we already saw some of the initial problems with big data. Because big data, dashboards, analytics, business intelligence, this is all part of the same movement, pre-AI. But we were already seeing some problems then. Because remember the early decisions, for example, to filter job applications in the US, and we saw biases there. That was just big data and basic machine learning. It was not yet generative AI. But already I was very interested in how to make sure the use of big data and analytics was done in an ethical and responsible manner.
And your findings are?
Well, I think we need associations like AAP to really push for ethical use of analytics. This was even before generative AI came along. So when generative AI came along, I said we needed an association that can really have the credibility to have an ethical message for the industry. And AAP fit the bill. That's why I applied. And I was happy to be accepted by AA.
But what was the urgency in crafting a code of ethics when, in fact, we're still at the point of discussing, let's build that ecosystem. As you mentioned, you did try to harness the talent and make sure we upskill faster than technology destroys jobs. Because the narrative is still there.
Yes.
And now we're talking about a code in a
Yes.
broken, but change my mind if it's
Sure.
not
If I
correct.
may
It's a
attempt.
broken ecosystem still.
This ecosystem is, we're talking about linkages across different sectors, and government agencies, government is part of that, public sector is part of that. We also include international organizations who help our advocacies and help us with many of our programs, especially Philippine Business for Education, Australian Embassy, British Embassy here in Manila. A lot of these organizations are willing to help the Philippines not just get upskilled, but also ensure that we are able to adopt this in a responsible way. So when we thought of, we conceptualized this code of ethics, it was actually suggested by Doc Ben here when he was already part of the AAP, because we're talking about technologies that are not regulated, right? We're not implying that it should be, but we're talking about technology that is evolving so fast, and it is very adaptive. You don't also know what the roadmap is going to be like, right? So we thought, okay, in the absence of any regulation or laws in the Philippines that are relevant, and just maybe just focus on this type of systems, because our existing laws are based on, I would say, locked or fixed systems, if there are, right? Data Privacy Act is obviously is still relevant, but no other regulations are there specific for use of AI. So we thought we self-regulate first, and I think that's an area of responsibility that we also have as an association of professionals, practitioners, aspiring practitioners, and a code of ethics for AI professionals made a lot of sense as a first step for us.
So the key word there is professionals. So professionals really self-regulate. In fact, anything we do from the moment we wake up to the moment we sleep, we're overseen by professionals. The water you drink was checked by a chemist. The electrical system here was checked by an electrical engineer. Everything. But AI is completely unregulated, and yet it touches so many aspects of our lives. So we wanted to make sure there are also people safeguarding everything from the data collection to the modeling part to the deployment so that we can trust AI.
Safeguarding from what? Where
Well,
are we picking up? Because
there have
to my
been-
understanding, it's really the key concern as of this point is really the deepfakes that we find online and the scams.
Yes, so those are the most visible ones, but we have to remember that AI is creeping into all aspects of our lives. Let's remember, even before generative AI came along, we already had recommendation systems and loan approval systems and even face recognition systems.
And we didn't know.
Yes, because we did not call them AI then, but they are AI, right?
Yeah.
That's why in the EU AI Act bans face recognition for citizen control, even though that is done in some countries, because then you can really be surveilled the whole day. They know where Cathy Yang is going every moment of the day. So that is AI. But when generative AI came out, this is a little bit different because now it creates its own content, which is a completely different ballgame. So now it can be used to create, fake articles about me. It can get all my writings and write books using my style without ever asking me. So copyright infringements, data privacy. And one of my most serious concerns, Cathy, since I'm an educator for 42 years, is that AI abuse is already beginning to weaken the cognitive abilities of our young people. Because when this was released in November 22, it became consumer facing, right? Before it was back end, only the technical people would use AI. But now everyone with a smartphone can use AI. But paradoxically, although it's called a smartphone, it's actually, if you abuse it, it dumbs you down. Some young students cannot even string sentences together anymore when you talk to them. They cannot read anything that is of long form without tuning out, and then they just ask ChatGPT to interpret it for them. So this is undermining our educational system. So this is where we're coming from, that this is an urgent matter for professionals to look over.
To your point on harms, I've had an opportunity to speak with Dr. Max Tegmark of MIT. He is one of the signatories of 2 years ago of a group of people who wanted to pause research on AI because of what they called the agents that might make us lose control of the system. And in fact, he would expound in his book that AI might take humanity away, might make humanity extinct. In your crafting of the code of ethics and AI, to what extent are you considering that this might be the worst harm that it can create, not just for Filipinos, but humanity?
Well, to be honest, when we were thinking about the code, we were thinking about more bread and butter concerns about AI, meaning current harms and risks. But of course, down the road, those risks are what we call existential risks, those that threaten the existence of humanity itself. And there's a big debate on how much probability to put to this, right? But for me, if for example, if the cognitive abilities of young people are already being impaired by AI right now, not even 5 years from now, for me that's already an existential risk because it's already undermining our humanity even as we speak. Because AI can be used to induce addictions, can induce mental health problems. They're not even in the future. They're not science fiction. They're already happening now.
And it's happened in the US, as you say, and as I understand, the US doesn't have one solid document on an AI, an ethical document on AI. It's various. So if we take from the US, what sort of maybe a measure do we have? You've created your own, but I've also found that there are others. There's one from the UP, and there's one from the legal profession. It's various as well. It's not just one document.
Yes. I would also maybe mention that these global AI policy, global AI practices, best practices in implementing, designing, deploying AI systems, for example, they exist already. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, as they say. So one example would be the ISO 42001 standard, which is on AI management systems. While standards are just voluntary, right? It's not really like you have to write a law to get certified on that, right? But it is following the best practices that you have in the ISO standard. So it's a matter of putting much more effort in documenting all the layers of the AI systems that you're using. Either you're subscribing to an AI system, you're purchasing, these subscriptions. You're not building on your own. You still need to practice code of ethics, responsible AI systems, because you're accountable to the end users of that system. So let's say, for example, it is an AI system that you want to use for recruitment, because let's say you crunch 1,000 CVs at a time, and it's going to be very, very tedious to do that for your HR staff. So you can, yes, it poses a lot of benefits and advantages in terms of time savings and finding the best candidates faster and things like that. But the ethical use of AI systems, the responsible use of AI systems, it should not exclude those who are just purchasing, or subscribing to these AI systems, because you are also making that decision that, yes, I want this for my company, right? The second is that you should also have accountability to those who will be using it. So your HR system, your HR department, your recruitment staff, everyone is also going to be exposed to these AI systems. It will change the way they work, right? So there's also accountability on their part, because they have to have oversight in the use of these AI systems. If it makes a decision or a suggestion on, let's say, top 10 candidates for a specific job, it should not be AI who makes the final decision in hiring.
Human in the loop.
So there should be human in the loop. So it's the code of ethics is actually for everyone who is using and designing and planning these AI systems, not just the vendor of the technology provider, right? So I think that's very important to highlight, because we talk about best practices. We talk about, there's no law in the Philippines, so this is wild, wild west. We can use anything, and we can no one will catch us, right? But I think that's really going to be very not in a very good situation if we do not promote these
Yes.
standards, these codes of ethics, because we also have to protect, the future of, future talent, future workforce, future decision makers in the Philippines with these practices.
If we were to compare what we have now and what the EU has, which is harms based, the US, there's no one document. ASEAN's come up with an AI document for the region, and we have the likes of Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia having their own as
Yeah,
well.
they have country strategies. Yes.
How is ours fashioned after,
Well, it's
if at
taking
all
shape.
been inspired by these
Yeah,
documents?
it's taking shape quite slowly, if you ask me, given that we are a heavy user of social media and AI. Because we have one of the highest average engagement hours per day, Filipino. So we're exposed to the risks the whole time. But the thing with AI is that it's moving so fast. People really don't know what to do with it in terms of a common governance framework. But if you remember, Kathy, if you remember the love bug virus, this was about 2001. In fact, when that exploded in March, we had the e-commerce act 3 months later, which made it illegal now to release those kinds of things. But at the time it was happening, there was no law against it, so nobody could be arrested, right? So we showed that if we have a crisis, we can move fast. But the problem is we always have to wait for a crisis for people to unite. But in this case, it's moving so fast, people don't know how to properly address it because they are saying it might stop innovation. My position on this is that historically, when safeguards or guardrails were put in, actually innovation improved. This is true with medicine, with cars, for example. Cars became more innovative when the brakes were improved. Because can you imagine just making cars faster and faster, but the brakes are lousy? So the point here is that if we are to wait for the regulation and for the common documents to come out, it will be too little too late. The point is to make sure the professionals are there to think through every deployment, every use, so that people will be guarded against harms. And this is what the code tries to contribute. But government also has to do its role, I
Right.
believe.
Which
Yeah.
which is a good point. If I could take that to the governance issues that we're facing and how it relates to everybody, there's a shared governance issue that now is very much present in the country. How then can the code of ethics that you've crafted relate to the governance issues that we're facing? Is it something that it can actively help craft a way forward?
Well, definitely.
And how?
Yeah, we've all seen, we're all in the middle of this flood control scandal, right? And all of these projects were approved by engineers, and engineers have a code of ethics. So therefore, they will have to be accountable for why these projects were approved. So at least you have that trail of accountability. The problem with in software engineering, there is no code of ethics. If a piece of software is approved, there is no foundation for which we can go after a software engineer and say, why did you approve AI? But if you have a code like what we have contributed, it's the first step because we can ask people to explain what were you thinking when you approved this system. But it cannot stand alone. There has to be teeth. There has to be a government support as well. So there are several AI bills that are pending now. In fact, I counted at least 8 was pending in the last Congress, none of which was approved, by
Why
the way.
not? Why do you think that is?
Well, we get distracted by a lot of our infighting in politics, as you know. If it isn't an impeachment issue, it's something else. So the AI, as we said, is so technical. It's so difficult to hold anyone's attention to really regulate it. But there are efforts, and there was a proposal for a national AI authority, right, Michelle?
Yes, actually, that's one of the things being proposed in one of the bills, to have a department or an agency in government that's dedicated to AI, to advancing AI, to looking all these risks and upskilling. So everything that's surrounding AI, right, in the Philippines. I think particularly for these bills, we also have to be very realistic and very pragmatic, I guess. When if we're just looking for some guidance on, let's say, what are the guardrails that we need before we build AI systems, before we procure, before we implement AI systems, then we cannot wait for a bill to be passed because that takes 3 years, 2 years, and we are, now faced with with this decision to make. Can I compete with in my industry if I don't use AI? And I know that most of these companies are already using AI, right, for productivity, for efficiency and all that. So I think from the private sector side, there should be again these global best practices anyway that we can start with the code of ethics to self-regulate from our teams, our employees, our leaders, right? But the governance that we're waiting for from the government side, we should start now, because if it takes 3 years to approve a law, then the discussion should be happening as soon as possible. So if there are, I think someone told me there are 39 proposed bills
Yeah,
now, Doc Ben.
it's multiplying. Yeah.
It's
For AI.
multiplying for AI, just for AI. So a lot of these need to be reviewed already. So we don't know. I think early this year we were part of the technical working group on the ICT committee, and just specifically to look at the proposed bill. So the AAP was invited as a resource. But then 19th Congress closed, and then there are new officials and so on. So a lot of that process, I guess, is also getting in the way. Like we have to wait, but we cannot wait, right? So we have to do something. So among ourselves and through the association, we are organizing these discussions. Like all these bills, we are doing position papers, right? We have a Discord channel to just exchange ideas, get inputs from those who are in the industry and also in the academe, so that we are ready with position papers when we are called by Congress or the Senate, right? But I think also what's important is these short-term, medium-term, and long-term initiatives that we can already do for governance. So code of ethics is obviously just short-term. We can do it now. We are publicizing it. We would like to have more meetups around it, more discussions.
We should have a national conversation
National
really on AI
conversations.
ethics.
And that conversation's taken us to blockchaining the budget and to start with the DPWH budget. So in the context of the code of ethics on AI, how then can you help propagate that demand to blockchain the budget to limit the corruption?
Well, I'll have my take. I think Michelle has a deeper take on this. But essentially, my point is anything that involves technology has to be handled very carefully.
Agree.
Because there's a lot of hype surrounding these technologies. And so responsible people have to be part of the oversight of these technologies. You will remember when we implemented automated elections in 2010. In fact, we were a path breaker in automated elections, but we discovered all of the problems later, right? Lack of transparency on the code, the corruption that happened. So when we implement technology, first we have to make sure the human capacity to responsibly oversee it is already in place. Otherwise, we get, the sweep of hype and FOMO, fear of missing out, takes over. That's why I think from a governance perspective, because I'm hearing recommendations that we can solve the flood control issue through AI, etc., and now, of course, blockchaining the budget. But again, it's always humans who are making the important decisions. Any technology can be compromised by a human with a criminal intent. That's a law. There is no technology that has been invented that can stop a criminal mind who is highly motivated. But if you have an ecosystem of professionals who are looking out for these things and who will red flag what they see, and there is transparency in calling it out, then that's a better way to approach this issue.
Exactly to your point, if I may, I've started the discussion by questioning the ecosystem.
Yes.
So where and who? If we're looking for the human in the loop who can be responsible enough to apply the code of ethics that you've written up.
Well, which is why when I joined AAP, it was because they started the data science education program for data science professionals. So now at least we have the data science layer. We now have to have the AI layer on top of that. And all of them must have solid training in ethics. Because if you're just giving technical competence without the moral courage, it's very dangerous. you might be producing a whole cadre of mercenaries who will sell their technical skills to the highest bidder without any consideration of human harm. So that's the role of professional associations.
So are we ready, Michelle? Do we have the human in the loop within the AAP to serve blockchaining the budget, for instance, or even AIing flood control projects?
Okay. So first, as Doc Ben mentioned, this is not just about technology, right? I would even say this is about governance, because the Philippines we're not really good at assigning accountabilities, right? You would have technology. You would have you can say that there's transparency in the technology, and that was the intention for picking blockchain, right? But at the end of the day, who is accountable? Is it the technology solutions provider? Is it DPWH? Is it going to be, who's going to be accountable if this fails? This works, of course.
The same with automated elections, if you
Same
remember.
with automated elections. So I think that culture of assigning accountabilities, and also saying that yes, it was my fault or my responsibility. I think we have to do a better job at that. Like, we can see now other discussions in Congress, and we have people who are already testifying, and investigations are happening, but still no one is made accountable for anything, right? But I think in the ecosystem, the intention is to first make people aware, and it is a bit sad that we are just talking about ethics now when it's been there in business ethics, right? And we were talking about data ethics earlier on in early days of AAP, because that is very important for data practitioners to know about, and also the end users. And now we talk about AI ethics, right? So ethics has been there all along, but it's becoming more of an afterthought, after a crisis. So I think we just need to bring this matter at the forefront, right?
Yes.
But we also don't want to for people to think that AI, they cannot adopt AI because there's all these harms, right? So to your introduction earlier, that we have to find this balance between innovation and making sure that we are very conscious of the impact that this brings to all of humanity, right? So it's this balancing act is where AI governance lies, this framework. So it should be very specific to a country, because ethics is also dictated
Specific
by
to
our own
the
values.
Philippines, where governance issues have been so endemic, who then will AAP approach to collaborate and get your
Okay.
data scientists going and fill the staffing that needs to blockchain the budget?
When we started, we really didn't know how to navigate government, who to talk to in government agencies, or even their mandates. We had to really study it, but we know that we needed to pitch this idea of having an ecosystem for analytics and AI to look at the supply of talent, and also the demand for this kind of talent, because industries need to adopt these technologies, right? So we needed to work with government agencies to scale all our efforts, and make sure that it's part of the budget, for upskilling, for incentivizing industries to adopt these emerging technologies, right? And then the regulation side of things. So we didn't know who to approach, so we just tried to approach everyone. It's not very efficient, but it had to be done. So we've been working with the DICT, DTI, now DOST, because DOST is leading all these AI initiatives. And then just last week, October 13 to 14, that was the first stakeholder conference for National AI Strategy. So this is the latest one that was approved by the President last May 2025, and Secretary Renato Solidum Jr. is the one who's spearheading the putting together the implementation for this strategy. So that was the intention for the conference, and that's where they gathered different representatives from private sector, academic sector, NGOs, and startups to help flesh out the details that's needed to make sure that we use AI for not just adoption and innovation, but also for inclusion, right? Because this is why these technologies should exist, in the Philippines context, at least, right? how do we uplift everyone's lives, not majority, but everyone's lives,
Everyone, yeah.
with the help of this technology, and not for commercialization only, not just for industry innovation, but to include everyone, because finally there's this technology that can be used to help those that are not connected. For example, digital connectivity could be an issue, but it does not excuse us from not including them in our plans, right? So we have data for all Filipinos. So how can we come up with better public services, for example, to serve all their needs? Healthcare, education, logistics, everything, right? So this needs to be much better for all Filipinos. And who's supposed to build these use cases that we call these AI applications? It's not private sector. We can help with the skills, with the expertise and resources, with the know-how, but it is mandate of the government to do this for every one of us.
And are you feeling at this point that the government is now more willing to engage? Or are you still feeling that pushback despite the widespread protests?
I'm very optimistic that yes, they are getting together behind this national AI strategy. And in fact, I know for a fact that next month, the National Innovation Council under DepDev, so part of the agenda is to discuss these implementation steps for the national AI strategy. So I know for a fact, at least, that it's going to be discussed, that behind this National Innovation Council's agenda is to gather all cabinet members to agree on the strategy, on the next steps. If they actually will, that's still
So
for
there's
us
still a big
to see.
question. You say that with
Because I don't know,
caveat.
right?
Yeah, my own observation is it's taken a while, and Michelle has always been in the forefront of engaging government. But I'm very excited about this latest development.
Yes,
It
yes,
seems that
same.
they're more serious this time. And rightly so, because we really have to catch up. We have a lot of catching up to do with our economy. We have to reach 8% to 10% of growth in the economy. And it's not business as usual. That cannot be achieved without some kind of highly innovative process. And I think AI has a role in achieving those aggressive national
But
development
before that,
goals.
the Filipino people want restitution.
Yes, well,
They want
yeah, that's
accountability, people made accountable before they can even think about what harms AI can make.
that's true.
But
We
how
have,
can you be relevant in that conversation
well, precisely.
and contribute to what they need?
Yeah, precisely. We have to, as Michelle has said, we have to contribute by building the culture of accountability. And that's where codes of ethics are very important. In fact, even the government has Republic Act 6713, right? Which is the code of ethics for all public officials. And that's why we should hold public officials accountable. But let's face it, Filipinos are notoriously tolerant of corruption. We are so willing to say, but that's how it is. And then when there is a highly publicized scandal, then we all become Facebook warriors and we bash everyone. But when it was happening in our midst, we were not commenting. So I think it also takes a wake-up call for all citizens to say, this is my country. I want those who serve me to be honest. When I look at my payslip and I see the deductions there, I want to hold accountable everyone who has access to my money. That's my money. But that means we need to change the mindset of the whole country.
Right. And if I may add, that's why I cannot really comment on this, technologies
Blockchain,
that they're proposing, because as basic as just using data and giving visibility to all Filipinos on how tax is being used. For example, it's just a simple dashboard that they put in. I don't know, you have sumbong sa Pangulo, maybe in the same website, you have a dashboard there where everyone can see where taxes go. It starts with just having visibility on, where things actually, you were telling me earlier, if you give it as a project or an exercise for high school students and maybe even grade school students, they try to compute for how much a house construction project costs, like down to the cemento and then the whatever. They will have an idea of, okay, this is how it is done when we say DPWH project. this amount is being proposed to come up with such construction projects, they will be informed, okay, so I should question why, right? At an early age, they will be curious, they will be involved, right? But I think that's why it's not technology that is the issue, because
It's a mindset, really.
it's a mindset.
It's a
These classical systems, business intelligence systems, data visualization, these will work. These will be enough. But how come it's not a matter of, oh, no one thought about it? It's not that. It's maybe some people have already proposed it. It's just the willingness to have it out there.
Or maybe even to be aware that we do have an AI code of ethics. As I understand, the full report's just been made available to members.
Yes, there's
So
an
I just been
internal
supplied
version.
that an
The
hour
public
ago.
guidance version. Yeah.
What's the strategy there? If you wanted everybody to learn about what the code of ethics is for AI, then why not share it to all?
That's part of our
Yes.
organizational strategy.
Yes. So the first launch was for members only. The intention is to get more inputs and more feedback from our members. Our members would be almost 200 corporations and academic institutions, and almost 2,000 individual members. Students, grade 6, students could also participate as individual members. And we publicize it a month after, I think, thereabouts. And because we felt that, okay, this needed to already get the ball rolling and people thinking about ethics as AI users, AI developers, and different roles on AI. But it should be a working document. It should be a living document. And that's why the next step there is to organize these focus group discussions, talk about it more, and with our companies, our member companies, showcasing how they actually live it or operationalize it in the workplace. Like if an AI user, for example, in the example earlier, an HR manager is using an AI system, how do they observe or manifest all these principles at work as they use it? So we want those testimonies out there so that it's more concrete for people, for the lay people especially. Because if you read it, these would be like principles and feel good stuff, right?
High
But
level.
they need to know how exactly to live it.
Are any of your members from government? Agencies.
We have government agencies.
There
So the
are.
BSP and the GSIS are actually AAP members, very progressive agencies. Yes.
I wanted to speak a little bit to the version because there is the public version. So it's a public guidance. So it's a 2-page thing. And then we have the longer version for members. The reason is this is really a very technical issue, and people might jump to conclusions about whether AI should even be encouraged or not. Our stance in AAP is, in fact, we are encouraging the responsible use of AI. So by highlighting possible harms, we're not saying no to AI. We're saying it has to be AI that is very well scoped, designed for purpose, and with the proper guardrails. So all of these principles are already in the public version. But as far as the specifics for how members will implement it, that is the one in the membership version. So I think this is already a good first step to plant as a seed so that we can have a national conversation on how to properly use AI. Because prior to the code, there has been nothing. So in fact, our goal is to make sure that this is understood by every Filipino, that you have a role in making sure that AI is responsible.
And also to understand that there are limitations because we're mainly AI consumers as of
Yes.
now. We're not the designers.
Yes.
If by design we wanted AI to be ethical, that's not within our scope, is it? So there is a limitation to the code that's been drafted.
Some of the AI developer companies are represented in the AAP. We have a member from Google in the AI Council. But even for consumers, they can actually push back on unethical AI. Because remember, all of these tools, they have a feedback mechanism. When you use ChatGPT, you can thumb down comments. Not many Filipinos do that. I do it a lot. Because when I'm introduced in conferences, they say I got my PhD from Oxford, from Cambridge, and so on. I've never been to England. So I asked them, where did you get that? Of course, from AI, right? So there's a lot of misinformation going around. So everyone who uses AI can actually give feedback to developers. We should not just be passive users of AI.
But AI developers also include those who are building models like statistical models, machine learning models, the what they call now, Doc Ben,
Mm.
traditional AI.
Yeah,
I'm so
traditional.
dated, right?
Yeah.
But generative AI versus traditional AI, like machine learning and all these things, recommendation engines from before, these are all AI. These are all covered under code of ethics for AI professionals. So be
Not
it
just
the
generative.
generative, yes, or classical. So that's why we have a lot of AI developers, if you define it like that, right? Many companies actually the biggest number of AI teams in that definition would be the telcos, for example, the banks who have lots of data as well, e-commerce platforms, right? So, but they're building not their own large language models, at least not yet, but they have a lot of AI applications in their companies and the ones that are also customer facing. So, the more that we need a code of ethics, even before Gen AI developers are actually coming from the Philippines. Right? So I think this is very important step. But I also want to highlight that businesses themselves would also need to know this distinction, because maybe they will say, oh, maybe AI am not yet ready. But for again basic data, analytic stuff, data science, you should already start using these, right? So
Properly.
properly, yes. And again, there's a code for that, and there are also they also need to be part of the upskilling initiatives, enablement initiatives, because although this is on another topic, the reason why some companies are also saying that okay, we're not yet ready for AI because they feel that they have nowhere to find the supply of talent. They say that okay, it's hard to find them and things like that. So one of the major programs of the AAP, also approved by the president last July 25, just this year, is the National AI Upskilling Plan. Okay, so this is going to be working side by side with CHED and TESDA, and AAP is the lead in private sector. So we're putting together the different upskilling programs for, say, there are 5 levels there. So because there are different upskilling for, let's say, those already in the workforce, those who want to be AI engineers taking their PhDs, versus those in grade school, or for the teachers for grade schoolers, right? So these are different upskilling
And we
programs.
included ethics, right?
And I was gonna say, so at the foundation of that is our code of ethics, right? And the Philippine Skills Framework, which the AAP also developed with funding from the DICT. So this details the different competencies for the different data job roles as well. So this
That's a good development.
yes, yes, yes. So from parang we're just building on top of the frameworks that we have, and that's why to just to circle back on what you asked earlier, for me, but I may be biased, the ecosystem is working because we're able to build this the upskilling framework. We're able to put together something that can be scaled with the help of government, working with government. And now with this national AI strategy that we are a big part of, we're always involved, we're always there at the beck and call of our of our secretaries. We will participate, we will be there because we know that this is very much needed. And if we just sit down and just focus on our private companies and just let it be, we will just all be
all the potential will be wasted.
yes.
And as you say, it's a living document. So what
Yes.
then can you recommend, or maybe as a call to action, the very young generation that you flagged earlier that have become the zombie generation because of
AI abuse.
AI abuse? What would you recommend they do?
I think the general theme is that we want productivity. Everyone needs to, it's not business as usual. The whole country has to really level up. And being productive means using every resource that is available, which includes AI. Because we know the history of our country, right? We bypassed industrialization. Our manufacturing sector never developed. We jumped straight to the service sector. But since we're known everywhere as a service provider, AI can actually help augment our abilities to be productive. So everybody, the young people, the goal is to be very productive, but to do so ethically, meaning make sure you're not harming anyone, you're not encroaching on anyone's rights, and make sure your well-being is protected. Because if you misuse these technologies, they can really harm people, and they have been shown in some cases to be harmful. But when we ride a car, we know that the brakes are well developed, that the exhaust does not go inside the car, it goes outside, right? And even the exhaust going outside, we don't use leaded fuel anymore. So all of those controls have been put in. So we see the same thing with AI. AI is like transportation. If it's well designed, you use it properly, it's safe. But if you buy a car that ilulusob mo sa baha, that's not a submarine. Don't go there, because I see people driving cars into floods. They think it's like a submarine. So the same is true with AI. Don't use it for a purpose it was not designed for. Otherwise, your wishful thinking will get you in trouble. So that's the whole principle underlying the AI code. Make sure AI is trustworthy, meaning it leads you to the truth. Make sure it promotes human well-being, and make sure it's friendly to the environment. If we just keep these three principles in mind, I think we have a very bright future for AI for this country.
Do you think it's not too late, Michelle, for the young people to want to contribute to that living document?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And that's why it is. It includes them. The ecosystem includes them, and we want them to be involved, right? And then I was gonna say also that we reach out to community, to tech communities. So these are self-organizing individuals who want to be in the tech space after they graduate from school, or maybe after senior high school, they already want to be part of the AI industry. We encourage them to be part of the AAP. Of course, they're usually libre ba kasi estudyante. Right? We encourage
Student
them
rate.
to be part of to be involved, right? So code of ethics, I think that's a good next step, because we're planning these focus group discussions, as I mentioned, per sector. So maybe we can have a youth sector first.
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
Because we have
Yeah.
that forums in our university all the time.
Yes.
Because
yes.
we're dealing with the cheating issue, as everybody knows, right? This is a problem everywhere. In fact, in Oxford, all exams now by some teachers are all handwritten now in the classroom. And of course, we are not going to that extreme, but we've already had to dialogue with student leaders, even student government, to help promote the idea that this can be used for very productive things. But if you misuse this when you graduate, you will not be worth your degree. And that's why you have to really engage. And let's face it, we have one of the youngest populations in the world. Our median age is about 24, 25, I think, among the 5 youngest. So our young people are really the heaviest users of AI. Therefore, their voice is very important.
Yeah.
But we also have to attend to their insecurities, their mental health challenges, because they constantly are being compared. So they think if somebody's using it, even though unethically, I have to do the same thing. So we have to give them the moral courage to say, well, I want to be fully developed when I graduate. I don't want to be using AI as a crutch. I want to use it as an augmentation of myself to help multiply my skills. I always tell students, yes, it's a multiplier, but if you're a zero, multiply 0 by a million, it's still a 0.
Yes.
So you have to have something to multiply. But
Yeah.
right now, some of them are becoming not just 0, but negative. So if you multiply a negative, it's a very large negative. We don't want
No,
that.
yeah.
So I think
That's true,
the
that's
voice of the young people are very important. But we have to engage them, because this fell on their laps.
Yeah.
If you remember, on December 2022, it was made available to everyone. So all the young people adopted it. By the time they entered school, the teachers didn't have a clue that they were using it for a while. Only when students started submitting perfect grammar papers. And in fact, I experienced this last year. Suddenly, after 40 years of teaching, all my students' papers are perfect grammar.
And what grades did you give?
I had to call each one to ask them, when you say this in page 6, what did you mean? That's when I got the zombie look.
Oh, no.
That's when I realized that they don't know what they're submitting. This is why, for me, it became a crisis. It's not just an academic integrity crisis, which it is. It's actually a mental development crisis. Their brains are being hollowed out. So everybody says this has improved efficiency. For teachers, it has made our work very, very difficult. It has multiplied my work 3 times. Because now I
Yeah.
have to call every student to ask, what did you mean in page 8? What did you mean by this? So it's not just about output, it's really about integrity. Can I trust that when you put your name on top of the page, it really was you? That's what we mean by trustworthiness, right? And it's the same whether it's a government official or a student submitting a paper. It's
Mhm.
really a mindset of integrity. And that's what we're trying to build in this country. So
Looks like we
I think
yeah.
AI, guided by our code of ethics, can
Mhm.
have integrity.
Looks like it's just a start. We've just graced
A
the tip of
very
the
long journey.
iceberg.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
My pleasure,
Prof.
Kathy.
Ben and Michelle.
you, Cathy.
Appreciate the insights on AI and so much more to learn. Catch us again next Thursday at 9 p.m. Philippine Standard Time on One News. You can also check out the long conversation on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And if you haven't done so, like or follow my social media pages. I'm Cathy Yang, and this is Thought Leaders.